Hi everyone, it's Neve here for the ScrapFX YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making a vintage 12 by 12 layout and using some of the new September vintage layout pieces. So this is a piece of scrapbook paper that I've actually made myself and colour copied. So it's all sort of different vintage papers and photos layered down onto the page, and it made a really great background for what I was doing today. So I'm just going in and adding some ink around the edge just to give it a darker look, and using the new lace, filigree lace stencil to add some pattern onto those plain papers. I'm also going in with this new medallion stamp and just stamping on some texture into some different areas. You'll notice I stamped off some of the ink beforehand because I didn't want it to be very dark. I just wanted the impression of these medallions in the background. Once I'd finished, I'm cutting up a piece of black cardboard so I can have my photo raised off my paper somewhat, because I wanted to have these layers happening. So I'm just using some glue to stick them down onto the back. Now this is a photo I've had in my collection for a while, and it's a copy of a damaged vintage photo. So you can see where it's sort of got those green bits on it, which I quite like. I like that it's not perfect. I'm actually not sure who the people are. It's a photo that ended up in my collection. I'm sure it's from my family or my husband's family somewhere, but we don't actually know much about where the photo came from, or it sort of just turned up. So it's just one of those mystery ones, but it's been sitting in my stash for a long time waiting to be used, and this is the perfect opportunity to use it. So I'm just going in with this mesh chipboard from ScrapFX, and because I put the cardboard, I didn't really think about this all that well. I put the cardboard down to begin with, so I need to cut out around it to have it sit down on the page properly, otherwise it's going to be a little bit lopsided. So I'm just using some sharp scissors. These are Tim Holtz snip scissors to cut out around my area. So I would suggest you sort of work that one out first, and don't do what I do and do it afterwards. So I had to just go back in and trim it down a little bit. I didn't cut quite enough. But the good thing about the ScrapFX chipboard is it's pretty robust, so it will take a little bit of punishment when you're trying to cut bits and pieces out. So for all these pieces, they all work beautifully and act as beautiful balances to what I'm doing on this page. But the chipboard itself, I actually didn't really do much with. I just painted it, or sponged it with this Payne's Grey paint. And I've found when I'm working with vintage images using Payne's Grey, it's a soft black colour. It's not as harsh as a true black. You get the darkness from it, but it's not overpowering. It doesn't take away from what else you're doing. So all the pieces of chipboard that I've got in here are all coloured with the Payne's Grey black. So I'm just going in and rearranging what I wanted to do. Now usually I wouldn't put two title pieces onto a scrapbook layout, but I actually really liked how both of these went together, particularly because I don't have much information about this photo. You know, I can sort of see the family resemblance coming through slightly. It's a bit harder because it is a damaged photo, but I really like because of the pose, you can really see their eyes. So I thought that eyes are the window to the soul really sort of balanced off what I was trying to say about the page. Usually I like to journal on my scrapbook pages, but as I said, this one's a bit hard to journal about because I just didn't know what to write about. So I'm just using Connect Glue to glue down all my pages, and what I found at the very end here is because I've lifted the foam up, or the photo up with foam, the very bottom piece where I was gluing this down I didn't have the cardboard all to the edge of my photo, so I needed to support that little bit at the bottom. So I just cut off a little piece, put it underneath where I was going to put that chipboard, and that's helped support it so it's able to hold the weight of the chipboard. And now I'm just going around and gluing everything down. I decided I wanted to blend in that little lace piece, so just have it stand out from the background a little bit by using some bronze wax or copper wax over the top. So again, I'm just trying to work out where to put pieces. This is the little piece I cut off the edge of the lace. I didn't need the whole strip, so I had that little bit. I'm going to actually keep that in my stash because I think it'll make a great crown for something in the future. So yeah, that's where it's going to go. Please excuse my hair, my head. Also, when you're doing this, I put glue on to the sole piece, which obviously I didn't need to do. Now this glue dries clear, so it's not going to be an issue. I'm not going to see it, but just be aware, particularly when you're gluing down things that are hanging off the edges, you don't need to put glue everywhere. So that's all good. So at the end of it, I was still playing around because I had everything on the bottom left-hand side of the page. That top right-hand side was looking just a little bit bare to me. And the thing that was really obvious to me, or standing out to me a lot, was because I had those red flowers down the bottom. They sort of really drew the eye. Even though they didn't really have anything to do with what I'd added on top, they really drew the eye, which gave me the idea to actually raid my flower stash of paper flowers and find some flowers that I could put on this page to balance it up somewhat, and to make those flowers down the bottom of the page make sense. So I came across this poppy, which I really liked, but unfortunately because of the back of the poppy, it's one of the ones that you buy for Remembrance Day. I couldn't cut off the back to have it lay flat on my page enough to glue it down. So I found these ones, I think they're from Craft or Prima, that I could actually bend and sit down on the page a little bit more easily than the poppy that I had. So I decided that I would go in and make 2 clusters so that it would actually make 3 spots of red on the page. I do like, if I'm adding something like this, to add them in groups of 3 because our eye likes to travel around a page in a triangle, so that makes a really good sort of focal image. To glue down the flowers, I'm using some of the Dina Wakley Ultra Thick Gel Medium. It's because it's a textural paste, it will dry clear. It's a really great glue, and it just makes sure that everything's going to stay in place, particularly on a piece like this, which is quite thick. So here is a close-up of the final page. I was really happy with how this turned out. I was so happy that I had the scrapbook page in the background to begin with, because that gave a great basis to what I added on, and all those new releases from Scrap FX just really added to the whole photo in the end. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye for now.